Welcome back to Football Daily, where yet again we're talking about January signings. I'm sorry. Today we are going to be looking at one player that each club should or will be signing. Now, some of these are suggestions from you guys at home. Some of them are suggestions that I think would be a nice fit. And some of them are suggestions from the club, because it looks like it's either happening or has already basically happened. You know, the likes of Madueke, the likes of Danny Ings. Sorry, a couple of spoilers there. It's my bad. Talking of spoilers, let's start with Arsenal. One player to sign, and it looks like this is a club one. Leandro Trossard. Now, this might be officially announced by the time you guys are watching the video. It's certainly got the Fabrizio here we go seal for £21 million plus £6 million in add-ons. And I'm not going to lie, quite like this move. I actually quite like it. I've seen Arsenal fans trashing it online. He's 28 was trending. Who cares? I think the issue he's got is that he's being compared to this shiny toy, the unknown quantity of Noni Madueke, who is one of the most exciting, explosive young wingers. Huge price tag. I like the fact that he's slightly under the radar. He can play a multitude of positions. 28 is an experienced age to be coming into this side. He puts up really, really good shot creating numbers. He's coming from a side that know how to press, know really good attacking patterns. I think he's ready for the next step up. And I think the fact he's flying under the radar is a good thing. This reminds me of a signing that Sir Alex Ferguson would have made when he went and took Antonio Valencia out of Wigan, or Louis Saha out of Fulham. Arsenal are in a title charge. They're the favourites for me to win this title. He could get them over the line by taking a little bit of intensity off of Saka and Martinelli in Europa League games, in FA Cup games. This is good business. Aston Villa. Now, they've let Danny Ings go, and we're going to talk about him coming up in the show, because I'm expecting that move will have been officially announced by the time this video goes live. I think a good replacement for Danny Ings might be someone like Moussa Dembele, who, again, isn't the most glamorous name, but is very attainable. He's out of contract in the summer, and I think given the state of Lyon's season, they'd be pretty happy to let him go for a fee. And this is a guy who isn't one of the elite finishers in the world, but certainly puts up really solid numbers and has done consistently since he's left Celtic, really. Now, I know he's not flashy, I know he's not fashionable, but 21 goals last season in Ligue 1. You know, prior to this little disaster between Atletico Madrid and Lyon, again, 16 goals in his debut season there, 15 goals in his last season at the SPL. I think he'd be fine to rotate in and out with Ollie Watkins. Personally, I think this would be a really smart move. If you have a look at his non-penalty expected goal numbers, I know this season's down, but Lyon as a whole, you know, all over the place in 9th. 0.67, 0.71, 0.91. I think it's worth a stab in the dark at like 10 million euros, honestly. Especially if Danny Ings is going for above that. If he's going for 15 million quid, if you can get Moussa Dembele through the door at less than that, I'd back Emery to find a player in there. Moving on to Bournemouth, big spending Bournemouth, Enzo Lefebvre. I mean, this is slightly bizarre because of course the Bournemouth owners have taken a percentage of Lorient and are effectively transferring Lorient's two best players to Bournemouth. And Enzo Lefebvre going to Bournemouth it's quite mad. We've been banging the drum here on Football Daily, and in particular Euro Football Daily, shout out Doogie and the boys, on Lefebvre for quite some time. And I have to say I'm surprised, given his level, that he is going to Bournemouth. But again, this is another example of ridiculous Premier League pull. If Enzo Lefebvre actually ends up at the Vitality, it would be mad, wouldn't it? Brentford is a me suggestion. I was thinking they need a striker through the door. Can they attract Terem Moffi? Now, I'm fully aware he is the third highest scorer in Ligue 1 right now, so it's not going to be easy, is it? But if Ivan Toney does get banned at some stage, which of course is very much up in the air at the moment, I think they will need another striker to come in and fill the void. Terem Moffi looks like the real deal to me, and I think this could be the sort of signing where they're jumping and getting ahead of the curve. Before he goes to superstar status, they get him early doors, and he can have an impact. As for Brighton, this one's a bit cheeky. I'm suggesting a loan move for David Datro Fofana. Now, Brighton were extremely interested in signing Fofana originally, before, you know, all of the Brighton recruitment staff went to Chelsea and nicked him. I think he would be perfect for the front line. I think he would offer the goals that you're going to lose with Leandro Trossard, and, you know, the Brighton team know what they're getting from him because they've scouted him so extensively. Yes, he would go back in 6 months' time, but if he has a good 6 months there, you might end up being able to keep him for the following season because you know they're going to go out and spend more money next summer, Chelsea. I think this would be a smart bit of business, although you'd have to put ego aside because you got beaten to him on a permanent in the first place. For Chelsea, I was going to say Denzel Dumfries. But then the club decided, you know what, stuff Joe's suggestion. We're suggesting our own player, and it's Noni Madueke. Another winger. Another winger. Another one. Another one. Another one. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You can now build a full 11 of Chelsea wingers or players that have played wide. It's just mind-blowing to me. That's 500 million euros spent now under Todd Burley, not addressed any of the midfield issues at all. Just signed wingers and centre-backs, still not got a striker. I mean, he's an extremely talented lad. Let's have it right. You know, Madueke, we all know his ceiling, but he's got a terrible injury history. You've got 4,000 wingers on the books already. Do you need him? Probably not. Okay, for Crystal Palace, I was looking at the right-back situation. I still think there's an upgrade to be had there. And I think they should have a little nibble at Djed Spence. I think Tottenham are going to go for a right-back this window. Djed Spence is currently third choice behind Matt Doherty and Emerson Royale. I think he would fit in really nicely with the way Patrick Vieira wants to play his football. It would allow him to stay in London as well. He's still just 22 years of age, but we can remember how explosive he was at Forest in the Championship. I think this would be a really good move for both the player and the club, and it would offer a different dimension to Patrick Vieira's attack. I think he doesn't have that at the moment, a right back that is able to maraud forward and support from that wide area. For Everton, I'm suggesting a loan move for Conor Gallagher. You guessed it. I just don't think they've got anywhere near enough goals in their midfield. I think they need somebody who can step out from the midfield, can progress the ball up the field with dribbling, is going to press like a monster off it, and I think that fits Conor Gallagher quite well. I also think he needs to come away from Chelsea, where I'm not sure he's being used to his best. So yeah, this could be a good little solution for both club and player. I think he used 8 goals, 3 assists last season for Palace. Did drop off. It's just the 1 goal so far this season for Chelsea in the Premier League. It'd be a bit of a coup, because I think there'd be a lot of clubs interested in him on loan. But it's the sort of player Everton need, because they've just got no goals in the team. Fulham, I was scratching around, so I went for Henry Hill's suggestion of Weston McKennie. He's the player he wants Fulham to sign. He is out of favour amongst Juventus fans because he's still relatively in favour, of course, under Max Allegri. He started 12 games this season in Serie A, which isn't a bad total, but I don't think the fans have quite taken to him. They don't quite understand where he's working, and Fulham are an extremely progressive club. You know, it wouldn't be beyond them to take a player like Weston McKennie from Juventus. It's whether or not he would be willing to step back in his career from a Champions League level side, which I'm not convinced he will. I think Henry Hill is a bit of a hope and prayer, this one, mate. As for Leeds, they've got Werber through the door, they've got Rutter through the door. I still think they need a central midfielder, some more depth behind Rocker and Adams, and I am going to continually suggest, Azzedine Ounahi for the role. At the moment, it feels like he's being linked to every major club in Europe without a concrete suitor who knows exactly what they can offer him. His energy levels at the World Cup, for me, would fit in lovely to this Leeds side. Super dynamic on the ball as well. You know, if he was rotating with the likes of Tyler Adams, I think it would be a perfect fit. And I do think they need more options in midfield because, you know, when Adam Forshaw, for instance, comes into the side, I think it is quite a step back from the likes of Rocker. Ounahi would be a good option. Let's be real, with Leicester, they need a centre-back. I've gone for Ndicka, the Eintracht Frankfurt 23-year-old, left-sided, left-footed centre-back, which is what I think the club need because Wout Faes is a right-footer being played in that position. I would like to see him go to the right side of centre-back. This is a massive Daniel Amati upgrade. The best thing about Ndicka is he's out of contract in the summer. And I don't think Leicester have got bags of money to play with right now. So this would be both a cost-effective option and a top signer because he's been courted by some really high-level clubs in Europe. The positive Leicester have to show him is the amazing training ground there and the proof that they can be used as a stepping stone club. It's happened endlessly Harry Maguire, Riyad Mahrez, N'Golo Kante, Fofana recently, Ben Chilwell. They've got examples to show to a player like Ndicka that if you go there and you perform, they will sell you on, will let you leave to a Champions League level side. For Liverpool, obviously, just fix the midfield. Moises Caicedo, fix it. It's going to cost £75 million. Yes, but I don't think they're going to get Bellingham. I don't think they're going to get Enzo Fernandez. I don't think they're going to get Declan Rice. I think Moises Caicedo, whether you buy him now or you buy him in the summer, is going to cost somewhere between 70 and 90 million pounds. May as well get him in now and try and get in the top 4. Manchester City, this was a tough one because the squad's a joke. Everybody knows it's a joke. I'm suggesting Rafa Guerreiro. This is one of my suggestions. I just think he's massively underrated. I think he would offer really good cover in the left-back slot because, at times this season we've seen Nathan Ake play there. We've seen Sergio Gomez play there, who I think should probably go out on loan. We've seen Joao Cancelo play there, but nobody's really playing well there. I think Nathan Ake might have even been the best left-back I've seen play for them this season. He can also come into that inverted position. He can play as a defensive midfielder. I think this is just a really smart bit of business because he's out of contract in the summer. And Dortmund, they're not crushing the Bundesliga this season. I think they would probably be willing to let him go for a fee. And he would be happy to join Man City, let's have it right. At the moment I'm seeing him linked with the likes of Nice. That feels way below his level. Moving on to Manchester United then. And I wanted to talk about somebody other than, Yuri Tielemans has been linked. And the obvious names. Because Man United have no money. These have got to be loan moves, and I think United need cover in a midfield area. If Eriksen was to get injured, or Casemiro was to get injured, I don't think they've got enough bodies in the deep lying position to sustain serious top 4 hopes. So I think Ryan Gravenberch could be a good shout on loan. Now, he's only played 150 odd minutes so far this season in the Bundesliga for Bayern. He's clearly not favoured by Nagelsmann, who doesn't feel like he's got up to speed with the club. Konrad Laimer is coming through the door. I know it's going to be a summer move, but that's probably going to drop him down even further in the pecking order. And he's worked extensively with Ten Hag. He knows exactly what Ten Hag wants from a midfielder in that position. He's got great ball progression numbers, great defensive numbers, still a fantastic age, and a little bit like a Martin Ødegaard situation where you might be able to take him on loan for 6 months, and if he loves the club and smashes it there, you might be able to get him on a permanent deal just because it didn't quite work out at Bayern Munich. I know it's very early doors because he's only been at Bayern 6 months, but I think this could be a smart play for United, who are very short on funds. Newcastle, we're going to talk about the player they've let go in a minute because it'll be Nottingham Forest, but I want to talk about a player that could potentially replace Chris Wood. It is Marcus Thuram. Now, Marcus Thuram has been spoken about with Manchester United, with Arsenal, with Chelsea, with consistent European Champions League level clubs because he's having another really good season. This season, he's being played slightly more through the middle at Mönchengladbach, and his numbers reflect that. As you can see, 10 goals, 3 assists in 15 games. I think he would be a significant upgrade on Chris Wood, who has just left the club. He can play not only through the middle, but also off the left and offer an option there. Extremely physical. He's a big bloke. We saw him at the World Cup coming on for France and making massive impacts. He's a French international. He's out of contract in the summer. This feels like a smart bit of business for a club like Newcastle, who have been flying under the radar with their transfers. They're not going out there and then signing £100 million players. They're signing smart acquisitions. I think Marcus Thuram would be yet another example of that. So this could be really good business. I'm surprised again that I haven't seen more Newcastle fans asking and demanding for Thuram at the club. Now, I was going to talk about Chris Wood. I mentioned it a minute ago, but I've actually just changed my mind. I'm changing my mind. I'm going for Levakovic in goal because of the news that Dean Henderson is out for 4 to 8 weeks, which is a big blow for them. That's a lot of game time for a club that are very much in a relegation battle. You have to have a top-level goalkeeper. Dean Henderson's been exceptional for Forest this season. So I think by getting Levakovic in, he's got a reported price tag in the region of 10 million euros. I don't think that's excessive out of Zagreb. We saw what he can do at the Euros. He's still only 27. Could be smart business. Southampton, this looks like it's going to be a club suggestion. It's Nicholas Jackson. I haven't seen loads of Nicholas Jackson playing for Villarreal. In fact, not many people have because he hasn't got loads of game time. But he is a forward, and that's probably what Southampton need. My issue with him is he's not a goal-scoring forward. He's not in my opinion, going to come in and bang them in goals. And I think that's just what Southampton need. Somebody's just going to stick the ball in the net. I mean, if you're a Villarreal fan or you're a La Liga fan, please do let me know more about Jackson in the comments below, because I haven't seen enough of him to tell you if this is a top-level piece of business for Southampton or yet another sort of young, exciting talent that is just emerging, exploding onto the scene, because that's more what it feels like to me. As for Tottenham, it's a boring one, but it's Pedro Porro. I just think that if Antonio Conte is going to be there, then you may as well give him a wing-back that works for his system. Historically, Antonio Conte's teams have always got massive output out of their wing-backs, and Emerson Royale, Matt Doherty simply aren't giving him that, and he doesn't trust Djed Spence. Now, Pedro Porro's numbers are ridiculous. They are ridiculous. You know, his attacking output is frightening. And it doesn't take a genius to see that, does it? It doesn't take a genius to see that he's a very good attacking wing-back. My issue comes if you give Pedro Porro to Conte, and Conte wants him, you do 45 million euros, you pay that buyout clause because they're not accepting anything less than it. What happens if Conte doesn't sign the contract? If Conte doesn't sign the contract, you've then got 4 right wing-backs at the club, one of which is a 45 million euro signing. The next manager might come in and not want even wing-backs. He might play a flat back 4 and Pedro Porro doesn't suit the right back slot. None of this works with Conte's contract up in the air, I'm afraid, Tottenham fans. That needs to be sorted before you sign anyone. He's either staying or he's going. Moving on to West Ham then, and I mentioned him earlier. Now this might be official by the time you guys are watching this video, but at the moment it is just strong rumours. It's Danny Ings for £15 million. Now I kind of like this move because Gianluca Scamacca is injured for at least the next month, according to reports. I'm a little bit surprised Aston Villa have let him go, given he is the top scorer, but they must have somebody lined up. Maybe it's going to be my suggestion of Moussa Dembele. But the issue I have with this is it feels like it is the last throw of the dice to back David Moyes. Again, if David Moyes then loses his job, does the next manager want Danny Ings? Remains to be seen. And I also have a bigger issue with West Ham in their chance creation. Goal creating actions for West Ham, 4th worst in the Premier League. So they aren't creating many chances before we even come on to whether or not they're finishing them, which they're absolutely fine at. So yeah, slight short-termism in this move for me, but at the end of the day, they are doing all they can to stay in the Premier League. They're scratching and scrambling at the moment. It's all going wrong. And if they were to go down, it would be disastrous. So Danny Ings prevents that from happening, you'd think. For Wolves, they need a centre-back backup. I'm just going to stick with the crowd. Everybody was saying to me Craig Dawson on my tweets. A few people were saying Souttar. I don't think you can get Souttar. I think Craig Dawson's much more attainable on a short-term contract. Comes in, covers your centre-backs. You know, he went to West Ham when he was very, very unfavoured as a move there, and they bloody loved him. He became a bit of a club legend. Not actually a club legend, but like a cult hero, you would suggest. So I think that's absolutely fine. Craig Dawson to Wolves. Okay, so there we have it. One player that each Premier League club should sign this January, or are going to sign, or already have signed maybe by the time this video goes live. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.